Hi, I'm Wendy, and I want to talk a little bit about seizures, epilepsy, convulsions. This was the most scary part of my life with Bray. Even the thought of it still scares me today because it's you feel so helpless to do anything for your child. Bree's prognosis was, along with short lifespan, seizures that would take over her life even with medication. Because medication, whether we like it or not, is just band-aiding the activity. The activity's still going on. It's just medications in general are a band-aid. They're not a cure. And I did, at the beginning, that's exactly what I did because I wanted my daughter alive. Couple of times she almost died because of the doctors giving her too much medication for her weight. But my little survivor survived. And her seizures were 4 hours long. She would 6 to 7 times a year she would have a 4-hour long seizure. The final one she had, I brought her out of it on my own. It was 4 hours, but her recovery was fantastic. And that's the last 4-hour one she had. She'd have little ones that didn't require medication, little second ones, but she never had those 4 hours again. I brought her out of it at home alone because the time before that, the doctors literally almost killed her by over-medicating her. And that scared me more than anything. And boy, I was scared, but I did it. I was cold compressing the back of her neck. I was cold compressing her forward. I was doing energy work on her. There's Donna Eden, who's an energy work person, has something that if you saw anybody in a seizure that you can do too. You literally hook your middle finger into where their belly button is, and the other finger here on their third eye, and you literally breathe in and breathe out through your mouth. And you keep doing that until the seizure comes down. And you just pull up here at the third eye and pull up at the belly button. So with Bree, I would have just hooked into her belly button and did that and kept breathing in and out, long, deep breaths. So in and out through the nose and out through the mouth. And so that's an energy exercise you can do for seizures. And the story I heard was a woman was on a plane and someone started seizing and there was no one around, and they asked if anybody could help, and she started doing that on someone else. And within a few minutes they came out of the seizure and they were fine. So just an idea. That's what I'm presenting out here. I'm just giving ideas and thoughts. For me, I discovered that Bree's seizures had a lot to do with whatever food she was consuming. Also environmental, but whatever food she was consuming. So, I could always tell if there was a new food I introduced and the seizure activity increased within 48 hours, that was something she wasn't to have. So, and I've read research from the 1920s, 1930s. Back then, they knew, they were finding in studies the correlation between allergies and seizures. So I made sure, that Bree's environment was as clean as possible, that, her linens were cotton, that her clothes were natural fibers, cotton, wool, or linen, but that, she was surrounded by as much natural as possible. Stayed away from those fluorescent lights. They're awful for seizures. Just stayed away from those. Wouldn't take Bree anywhere where there were fluorescent lights. So I, within 2 years of changing her diet to a plant-based diet, Bree's grand mal stopped. So that was the impetus for me to go, okay, I really need to look deeper into this food. Food is healing, like the father of medicine said. Hippocrates said, let food be thy medicine. And I think it was Thomas Jefferson said, the doctors of the future will be looking at food. hasn't happened yet, but because they don't study very little about food, unfortunately. Because the pharmaceuticals want everybody, there's a place for medications, but not long term. They're just to get us until we can be healthy enough for our body to look after ourselves. So the foods that are really detrimental for anybody, for any chronic anything, for people in general, but especially for seizures and epilepsy, are dairy. Because dairy bogs down the liver, and the liver is trying to process the medication for seizures. So now you add dairy products that bog it down even more. It stresses the pancreas and can cause trouble absorbing the nutrients in foods because it causes inflammation in the digestive system. It can also cause a heightened allergic response to environmental stimulus like dust and pollen. So pollen's another issue, and the sprays and everything outside. So dairy's going to make it even harder for the body to detox this stuff, or just to, Brie, I caught one time where we were living, unbeknownst to me, they had sprayed the lawn, and that evening Brie was having more of the petit mouse, and the dog was throwing up. So you don't see it, you don't know, but these things affect our children, and us, of course. You might get cold symptoms. Well, it's a reaction to that. Eggs. Eggs feed those viruses that contribute to autoimmune disorders and cancer. It is good to avoid them, especially if you're dealing with a chronic challenge, a health challenge, a chronic disease of some kind. Wheat is a highly inflammatory food, and it feeds pathogens in the body. So, those are the top ones. And then with time I found out, corn with Brie, strawberries with her. I would find out different things by watching, because you have a seizure child, you become a watcher. Sometimes I think I might have even caused the seizures because I was watching her so intensely. The what you focus on increases principle. So I was going, oh my, because it's such a frightening situation. It's a devastating, frightening situation. Everybody I know who has a child with seizures, they hate seizures. The only good thing about it is the seizures are taking oxygen from the rest of the body for the brain to survive. But we got over that. So these are herbs. I've got some herbs here that could also help you. I mean, I go diet first. I would never have taken Brie off her medications if I hadn't changed her diet first. There is no way. I mean, her body had to get strong enough to be able to deal with things before just taking her off medications. I mean, to me, that would be very, and I'm not for, Brie was off medications the rest of her life. So I'm a pro-healthy person, but I'm also realistic. If Brie were on the standard North American diet, she would have been on seizure medications her whole life. I mean, but then the grand mals would have continued. It would have been just band-aiding it until the next one, whereas she lived the rest of her life without having another 4-hour grand mal seizures, which was awesome. And I had a clear child. I didn't have a zoned-out child under medications. So one that I don't have on me because we were out of it at the store is Gota Kola. So it's really good against epilepsy and seizures. It feeds the brain. Please only get it organic. But what I would suggest you do is it's Gota Kola. You can actually probably go to I think Pete's of Maine is a seed company. Because if you can plant your own and grow it yourself in pots in your kitchen, because the best way is the organic and fresh like that as the plant, then you could sprinkle it in soups and salads. So think about that one. Okay, you can get it in a tincture, absolutely. from either Herb Farm or Oregon Wild Tinctures. But think about getting the seeds and growing it yourself in pots in your kitchen. The other one now to consider, these are all herbs to consider. Put it out there, you might not have heard them being used for seizures and epilepsy. Passion flower. Here we go. We have it in a tincture. And it says right on it, nervous system. Perfect. And this is from Herb Farm. So, tube-fed babies, tube-fed children, something to think about. All right, passion flower. Also good against epilepsy and this is used widely in South America, it's known about. You know, it's like in South America, aloe vera is known about for any digestive issues. It's just we take a little longer to get it here. So, you know, in South America, this is normal to use for seizures and epilepsy. It's calming and relaxing. It's also rich in flavonoids and alkaloids that help regulate neurotransmitters, for the brain. So good. Another one I don't have on me is Skullcap. So you could do, it would also be in a tincture like this from either Oregon Wild Harvest, good one, and Herb Farm. Two good companies, herb companies. So if you got the Skullcap, you would just use like a half a teaspoon in a cup of warm water as against having the seizures. Another one which is interesting is lemon balm. And I have a couple of forms of lemon balm, and I don't know where I put the other one. But anyway, what I have here, which is really interesting, because it's antispasmodic. So it's mildly against that sort of having seizures. Lemon balm here, Herb Farm makes one for kids, which is really interesting. And calming and smoothing lemon balm for children. And this one's alcohol-free, which was really nice. So I want you to look at that. Okay, so that's something. Lemon balm is just a really good herb all along. There was a young man that came in the store the other day and he says, my mom brought me up on lemon balm. You know, he's looking at all the tinctures. So that was interesting to hear. I think it's just a good one to have in the house. Yeah. So this is for kids. They also have an interesting one, which is a sidetrack here for me, is one for kids that is an immune avenger. I would really look at this immune avenger. So, you know, this is certified organic. We're great here. And it has a combination of wonderful herbs in it to build the immunity. And, you know, we're about to go into winter and that whole time. So, you know, these are good ones to have in your medicine cabinet or your kitchen cabinet, wherever, but to have around. All right, Herb Farm for these kids' herbs. Now we have lemon balm. Okay, so those are just some that, you know, to consider. The passion flower and definitely the Gota Kola. Look at those two first and foremost. Have the lemon balm around because it's just calming for your children no matter what in this world of anxiety. I do want to tell you, and we will write it in the thing, in the book, it's a classic herb book. It's called Back to Eden. And it's by Jethro Kloss, Kloss. So in that book, and you can probably Google this, he has an antispasmodic tincture. So it's a tincture to deal with seizures, epilepsy, convulsions. So in that, he uses one part. When I say one part, equal amounts of each one. Okay, so whether you use a quarter of a teaspoon, use a quarter of a teaspoon each one to make up this remedy. And it's interesting. You check it out. But the only thing I think is he's like brewing the the tincture for 6 weeks in vodka. The vodka gets poured off, but that's how it's done. I'm just going to tell you about it. You can Google it and see what you think. Black cohosh is one of them. Another one is, I know I have it here. I have all of these tinctures here. Just got to see. I put them somewhere to be safe. Anyway, lobelia. Here it is. No? Okay. There's another one, Lobelia, seed or leaf. Another tincture is MYRRH, resin. Skullcap, which I mentioned before. And then skunk cabbage leaf, valerian root, and a little bit of cayenne. Hey, what he did, I would Google it. I would Google back to Eden and the remedy for antispasmodic tincture. And just take a look at it, see what you think. You know what? You could probably just use some of these tinctures without making that. Use a couple of drops and make up your own in water on a daily basis. And then you avoid the whole vodka to brew it up for 6 weeks. So now, foods that to eat that give the body a better chance to fight off, I guess I would say, the seizures or the convulsions. Foods to think about having more of generally in your child's diet are the following. Okay, we have avocado, yes. Berries, but you see, Brie couldn't do strawberries. They had actually caused seizures for her. But wild blueberries, to me, are the number one best. They're the number one prebiotic on the planet. They take heavy metals out of your body, and heavy metals have something to do with seizures. And I'll give a little blurb at the end of that. I really think that had a lot to do with what was going on with Brie's brain injury in general and what happened to her. Because there was, for us, no genetic cause, but heavy metals are intergenerational, which means they are inherited from parent to child, on down the line. I'll give you an example of it. I have a coworker who was did testing to see, what things were in her body. Yellow gas was in her. That's from her grandfather in World War I. That shows you how this goes through our system. These heavy metals like mercury are in medications. Mercury is in tooth fillings. Every time you have a hot drink, some vapors come out. Every time you grind your teeth, some of the vapors come out. Your dentist cleans your teeth, some of the vapors come out. Aluminum foil around our foods, that's a heavy metal. Aluminum foil, aluminum in deodorants. That's why you go for body care products that are paraben free and all these chemicals free. That's what we have at our store. That's why you go for really clean detergents for your clothes and to wash your dishes in, because these chemicals build up. And the thing is, you might not even pick them up in testing because they're smaller than nanoscopic. You have microscopic and then nanoscopic. They're smaller than nanoscopic, but they're creating havoc. All the autoimmunes that are going, it's creating havoc with people. The supposed doctor doesn't want to know what's going on. You'll see in like 5 to 10 years that this is going to come out. This is heavy metal toxicity. I have a feeling that affected Brie greatly, and the whole seizure thing and the whole brain injury thing. I'm just zeroing in. I mean, Brie was a total gift, best teacher. I'm so grateful to have been her mother, but my mind still, I believe strongly that the body is meant to heal itself, that things in this world are here, that all the healing is here. We can find it. And I'll give you an example of that with sea vegetables. So some of the foods that are beneficial in this challenging situation are the avocados, the wild blueberries. Berries like that are a brain food. They're good for all brain disorders and all neurological symptoms. Dates, mangoes, melons, radishes, please, the tops and bottoms of the radishes. The radish greens are the second most potent prebiotic on the planet. Tops and bottoms. Sweet potato, sea vegetables. So sea vegetables. Just to give an example, I mean, sea vegetables are so important. You can buy dulse flakes and sprinkle it, like I said before, on salads. I put it in green smoothies. Nori sheets are great. I'm thinking they even have condiments with sea vegetables in them. Gamasio has one with sea vegetables in them. There are snacks with sea vegetable in them. I tell people, try and get them. Send your kids to school with those little nori packets of sea vegetables as a snack. So sea vegetables, an important food to eat to help the body prevent these seizures. Why I strongly believe that in foods and the body being given the right foods and herbs and spices and stuff that it needs, it gives it what it needs to heal itself, is that, for example, and this is similar to the wild blueberries, sea vegetables and wild blueberries, the same thing happens. Not cultivated blueberries, wild, it's a different world. The wild blueberries, for example, when they're burned to the ground, they come back. They don't have to be replanted like cultivated ones have to be. They come back. That's the type of resilience we all need. We all need that bounce back. Sea vegetables, when the harvest is usually from April, May through October, but then what's not harvested, the winter, the waves, the storms just take away. And they re-come back because they grow from spores. They re-come back and regrow in the spring again. They don't have to be planted. They don't have to be cultivated. They re-come back. Sea vegetables, people go, well, the sea is not clean. No, sea vegetables clean the sea around them. Okay, studies from McGill University, studies in Japan show that it takes radiation and radioactivity materials out of your body. So you eat a sea vegetable, say it had some mercury in it. It won't release it in your body, but it will collect the mercury that's there and then release it only when it's out of you. So it deactivates toxic heavy metals, is the way to put it. During Chernobyl in Russia, when Chernobyl happened, all that years ago, the sales of sea vegetables skyrocketed in Russia. During the Irish Moss, I mentioned Irish Moss earlier. During World War II, the Channel Islands, which are between France and England, they were on food shortages, so they had to go to the sea and they were harvesting Irish moss. Their respiratory, anything respiratory, pneumonia, you name it, bronchial, anything like that, plummeted because of Irish moss. I've harvested Irish moss myself and dulse off the east coast of Canada, and when I've harvested, it looks like a lung. It has a lungy appearance, if I could say that. So sea vegetables, you know, we're talking magnesium, getting magnesium in the body. I talk about that concerning constipation. We all need magnesium. It's for that's why our heart beats. Magnesium, you know, you go into a hospital, they're going to put a gram of magnesium if you have a heart attack to get your heart beating. It's so important, and where our soils are depleted. Sea vegetables have 10 to 20 times more minerals, and magnesium's one of them, than land vegetables. So I have videos on YouTube about sea vegetables. Please look at them. They're a really important food source to know about. And Bree Absolutely, we had sea vegetables. I'd make a couple of dishes a week and eat it. You know, you can put it in soups, you can make soup broths. I have videos on that for you to look at. So hopefully these have given you some ideas, some other ways of looking at things. Very frightening situation, but you know, we saw the other side of that, and I've seen children where seizures take over their life. And it's a very sad, disheartening situation. I've seen that. So I just kept looking, and to have Bree not be on medication for the, over 2/3 of her life. But I had to change her diet. I had to change everything. Oh my God, I even changed the country I lived in. I changed her food. I changed everything. But she was healthy and happy, loved and wanted. And thank God that I'm an avid reader. I'm still learning today, and I'll continue to share everything I learn. Thank you so much.